It's said everyone has a story. China has almost 1.4 billion of them, from the mega cities to the vast countryside, from the ancient to the ultra-modern. It's our job to bring these stories to you, direct from one of the most rapidly changing nations on the planet. I'm Annalise Nielsen and we're rediscovering China. This week, we discover a school with just 2 students left and one very dedicated teacher as we explore the difficulties accessing education in rural China.
过去了啊，慢慢的，慢慢的翻。坐了啊，不动了啊，不动，你掉下去，坐到啊，对，不能动啊。抬高点啊，不放弃抬高点哎。
这小鸡有多长？
慢慢的啊，慢慢的，
It may lack the normal formality of a flag-raising ceremony, but there's no forgetting tradition here. We're in a little village, 4 hours' drive from Chongqing City. If it wasn't for the Chinese flag hanging above the school, you might not even realise it's nestled in the valley. But thanks to Mr. Yang and his 2 students, the sound of their playing echoes throughout the village. Indeed, it might be mistaken for a family home. And once you look inside, you can see that's exactly how it can feel. Their day begins like at any other school, with the ringing of a bell. Despite the fact there are just 2 students here, Teacher Yang runs his class as if there were dozens. When Mr. Yang started teaching 35 years ago, it was a few years before the Chinese government mandated for free primary school education. Even so, back then this same village had a school of over 80 students with 3 teachers. Now it's just Mr. Yang left teaching. His only students, 6-year-old Hefanqi and 5.5-year-old Shitao. They're 2 of just a few dozen children still living among these mountains, but they choose to attend the village school instead of trekking to a larger county school. For Mr. Yang, they're the reason he continues to teach every day.
每当我走进校园，看到一颗颗活泼可爱的孩子，见到老师，杨老师啊，你早，杨老师你好，心情非常高兴。 平常和他们一起，所以这里就把我注定了，在这个山村，我就不想走。
There are around 300 villages left, living scattered over the mountainside here. Many, like Long Zhaixiang, have been here all their lives.
我就恭维这个杨老师，不惜卖的工资，一心一意。 跟那些老师教育我们一心为民，培养下一代。要去他那半边挑起水来，做了点少不成。
Every day he treks down the hill to fetch water from the well. It's a beautiful, crisp morning today, but it's still an arduous task, which he carries out no matter the weather. He does receive some compensation for this extra work in the form of an additional 300 yuan, around $40, each month for the challenges of being a rural teacher. But when you meet Mr. Yang, you suspect he'd be doing the same job, regardless of any financial incentive. Once he's back up the hill, it's straight into the kitchen to cook lunch for the boys. The government provides a lunch allowance of $8.1 a day for the two of them. That's just over $1. It's not much, and cooking for just two students, the money doesn't stretch as far compared to larger school canteens which cook in bulk. Also at larger schools, parents will often pay a food subsidy too, but these families simply can't afford it. So Mr. Yang will use ingredients he manages to secure on his own. And he waits until the boys are eating before he serves himself, often stopping to top up their bowls, knowing this will be their biggest meal of the day. But how long can a school like Muqiao's last? In the 10 years since it's been running, Muqiao School has cost 120,000 yuan, about $17,000 in building and maintenance. He's undeniably experienced and natural in the classroom, but he belongs to an older generation of teachers who don't have a university degree. He's learned everything right here in the classroom. What he represents is a skill that's been lost in China's extremely competitive educational system, particularly at larger schools, what we in the West call pastoral care, or looking after the students' general well-being. Taking his duty as a teacher beyond ensuring they learn the right parts of the curriculum, to care for them emotionally as well. But luckily for these particular children, there's almost nothing Mr. Yang won't do for them. Each day on his journey to and from school, he takes Hafanchi along for the ride. At just over 6 years old, Hafanchi finds the roughly half-hour walk far too daunting. He would have to go through the forest alone, which is full of wild dogs that terrify him. His vision is also poor because of an eye condition he was born with. So every day, Mr. Yang takes him on the back of his bike home to his grandpa. Meanwhile, Shitao is one of the few children who gets to go home to his father every day. One of 4 children, his family manages to farm just enough to survive.
在外面打工，就是说啊，被那个叫计算教了，就是说拿起就是我这手就是着了，就下不得重点，就在家里，就是我也就是他也教过我，就是我几个都是他教的，还是很好。当时就是说我叫他一个人去，他就是怕这样怕那样，不敢去。每天我都跟杨老师说了，他都来亲自来在家里见嘛。 就是我还有个到管他那个嘛，就是每天早上就是6点钟就我在那里去了嘛。他要整2个多小时，就是怕他在路上打架嘛，就是怕搞他嘛，打的不方便嘛。让他在外面读了5年级嘛，都不管他嘛。有钱的都去那个叫城头了嘛。 还没有亲的都只有是在这里噻。
And for those who do stay in the village, tucked away in the mountains of Chongqing municipality, life is not easy. The sun is only just rising through the mist over the village, and brothers He Yunda and He Yunshun are already up, stoking the fire. They're both former students of Mr. Yang. There are no parents to care for them. Their mother is dead, and their father is away from home, working. Despite being just 12 and 10 years old, it's their job to do the cooking, but not to make their own breakfast. They're brewing herbal medicine for their grandmother, a carefully concocted blend of traditional Chinese medicine prescribed to help since she hurt her hip. It's all they can afford. They've been told they need to make it for her first thing every morning. Too weak to get out of bed most days, she's fed one spoonful at a time. She is the only adult left to care for them, but mostly it's the other way around. Only once they've seen to their grandmother do they start to think about their own breakfast. But it's eaten in between chores. If they don't look after the home, nobody will. This is all before they set out for the walk to school. Walking around the village, it isn't hard to see why the local school is almost empty. The children simply aren't here. All the young families have left for bigger cities and better educational opportunities. What we have left behind here are the grandparents, holding down the family homes and the traditions.
我今年78岁，我一个在这个地方生活。
What many don't realise is it's not just the children left behind. Grandparents who expected to be cared for by their own children in their old age are left to fend for themselves too. Going into their homes and seeing their simple lifestyle really does feel like witnessing a relic of a bygone era. While in some ways it's an idealistic notion to keep these villages alive, they reflect a level of poverty most young Chinese aspire to leave. It's not hard to see why young people don't want to stay.
Very nice, very nice. You know, little songs like that, they seem quaint to the foreign eye, but they hold a lot of really important traditions and histories for villages like this, and they're unique to each one all over China. This is what we're at risk of losing if we allow this generational gap to continue.
For these boys, it's their job to get themselves to the county school. They set out on their walk through the forest at a quick pace. For some, it will take them as much as 2 hours to make the journey. They look after each other along the way. Given their family's plight, it's no wonder these children have only a 1 in 3 chance of finishing middle school and a less than 2% chance of making it to university. They do more before the first bell rings than many children could begin to imagine. They arrive here at Guantang School to begin class at 8 a.m. Its classrooms are much bigger than Muqiao. Here the children can learn among a group of their peers. However, the school management faces a number of challenges, chiefly recruiting qualified teachers. Shijian, with a degree in English, was originally recruited as an English teacher, but such is the difficulty in finding staff that she's now a full-time Chinese teacher.
语文教委每一年都招了可能100多个一体这个毕业生，但是因为这个偏远农村山区这个教师这个缺口还是比较大，所以这些老师一旦招收回来过后，他主要从事的还是语文和数学。
Australia. So that said Australia.
Australia.
Yeah, you want to try that again? Australia.
Australia.
While many of these children will never use English in their day-to-day lives, it's seen as a desirable skill to have in business, even more so for entering university. Many parents will travel long distances to get their children access to English classes. It's this combination of factors working against small schools that Principal Zhang says is hard to contend with.
那么老百姓呢，他就想尽办法，尽自己的最大努力，就把自己的小孩就送到了这个县城里面的这些学校去就读，这个也是造成这个生源减少的原因之一。
欢迎到。今天来学校玩吧。
But even the children at Guantang crave that care and attention they can't get in a large school. This weekend, some of Mr. Yang's former students who attend Guantang have come back to see him at Muqiao. Most of them live much closer to Muqiao Village School, but make the journey to attend class at Guantang, where they can take classes Mr. Yang simply can't offer, like English and science.
15年，我对你做的时候，我就是晓得这个时候都那个人啊。15年，你再让我再去，我记得我们2个只跟你做这了，反正我就做这个。语文。
为什么呢？
像语文里面，像比如说天气热嘛，他就弄个假的马来让我们玩。
人家爷爷病倒在床上，已经是3年的病了，病倒在床上。 现在路也走不得，街道是搞清楚噻，路也不能走。看来你担子任务就落在你2个的肩上，所以一定听奶奶的话，别哭，小心啊，不要紧，不哭啊。
None of them have an easy home life. Of the 28 children registered in the local village, only 5 are still living with one or both of their parents. They miss Mr. Yang.
对，100起。
These are the left-behind children. It's estimated that for the more than 100 million Chinese adults who've moved from the countryside to big cities to find work, there are 60 million children waiting for them somewhere far, far away. The government's challenge has become finding a way to give children the access to the most resources close to where they are. Here at Muqiao, they've installed a virtual music classroom on a computer and TV monitor. There's a list of songs to teach the children. It means that despite Mr. Yang having no music training, he can teach the children one of their favourite lessons with relative ease. It's a clever investment to help keep variety in the children's learning. Each province in China is required to invest the equivalent of 4% of its GDP in education. But for a relatively poor county like Yuyang, that's still not enough. Yuyang County receives double the minimum amount, but still struggles to attract qualified teachers. Which is why so many schools end up being shut down.
There are buildings just like this one scattered all over the Chinese countryside. They're schoolhouses abandoned by families as they move to the bigger cities in search of better education and opportunities. They're called empty shell schools. You can see this one here was quite large in its day, this classroom itself just for grade 3 students.
Peng De-Yuan, Deputy Secretary of the Party Committee on Education, says the rate of school closures has increased dramatically in the last decade.
空壳学校，我们初步统计，大概有80多所。就像我们这个10人以下的学校，我们有57所，目前有57所；11人到50人的有70多所。城镇化建设的加快呢，我们有一些家庭迁移到了集镇上去了。 到县城里边去了，到外边打工去了，还有边缘的地方呢，高山移民，这些到集镇上去了，学生逐年减少。
But looking at how basic the facilities are, you wonder if this is all necessary progress. By any international standard, a building like this isn't suitable as a modern classroom, so the push for centralisation seems to make sense. Today, Muqiao School is closed. It's a rare occurrence, but there's a very special reason. The whole town is gathered for an important wedding. The groom is Mr. Yang's son, Yang Jin, and he's about to marry his longtime love, Ran Meiyan, who's carrying their first child. Here the eggs represent a blessing for lots of children, and the corn kernels a prosperous life. Unlike most other cultures, there's no single set of wedding traditions in China. They vary drastically between provinces, towns, and even families. It's a bit chaotic, but a joyous time for families to get together and share traditions passed down from one generation to the next. It's a full day of celebrations and feasting. It's one of the few times the whole village will come together and revive these traditions. It's a day Mr. Yang couldn't miss, but he didn't get to join the festivities for long. Right after, he was back in the classroom. As the only teacher, it means he can't take a day off when he's sick or has any other commitments. But his son and new daughter-in-law respect his dedication to the job. In fact, his daughter-in-law has applied to be a village teacher. She's now waiting to see if she can follow in her father-in-law's footsteps.
And I know you've got a baby coming. Are you hoping the baby can go to the village school as well?
我从小也想当老师，我大学毕业了就回这里了。然后，因为我的小孩的话，我希望他不要离开父母，我也希望他跟我一起啊。
What do you think of your father's work?
让所有的不能够上大学，不能够上好一点条件的学生，能够有好的学校学习。我支持我父亲。
立正，向右看齐，向前看，稍息。
There are more than 200,000 primary schools across China, and each one is unique. Still, they all face the common challenge of giving the country's more than 96 million primary school students, like Hefanshi and Shitao, the best chance to succeed in life.
你会不会跳绳？会。你会跳绳啊？ 那我去拿根绳子给你跳一跳，好吧？再跳过来。
高点。
高点啊！哎，不要高了，高了，前方套左脚。跳过来。
4根跳。
让石头来跳一下，来石头来，石头来跳，哎对，哎对。
For Mr. Yang, it's his life's work. He's spent over 3 decades here because he's proud of his local heritage, and he doesn't want that to change.
对，11个又来，哎，快
，3个就来，
又来。
我希望母校教学点儿继续存在下去，哪怕只有1个孩子，也要在这里坚守到底。 如果脱离了这个教学点儿不存在了，想一想人家那些贫困那些家庭，这个孩子的学习怎么做？本来就是一个边缘山区的孩子，书上都是说，教育改变命运，知识也改变命运。但如果缺乏知识， 所谓边缘山区，其实给家乡也好，给国家也好，给社会也好，都带来一些不得均衡发展这个情况。
Because of their birthplace, the odds are stacked against these boys. But by the same token, their time at Muqiao has given them a special experience that may well help them flourish in their own way. And like children everywhere, there's no limit to their dreams. By virtue of its population, China has the largest education system in the world. No other country has ever been able to bring so many students into school. But for Muqiao, the children's horizons already seem limited. The boys may eventually move on to middle school, or they'll drop out altogether. There will surely be new young students in the village soon enough, but Mr. Yang won't be around forever.
我退休过后，这里的孩子谁来经手？我担心的是这儿这个学校这个校点儿，哎，还有那个小孩特别小很了。 那个路途有点遥远，单独一个人来，对他的生命都不安全。
开心没有？看着无线红旗在飘，无线红旗，开心没有？
Travelling around Yuyuan County, it's striking to see just how many people in education really treasure their children. But by the same token, the system is failing many. Not everyone's as lucky to have a teacher like Mr. Yang. What we've seen is throwing money at the problem isn't necessarily the answer. The challenge is now how to keep these children in their beautiful native countryside while still helping them thrive. On China, out of China, I'm Annalise Nielsen reporting for Rediscovering China.